So, but no, this is great. I love the pre-show conversation. Hey, look at that, we're live. I always love the pre-show conversation because it's amazing, and you guys are amazing. So, I'd be intrigued. I'm intrigued to see how staff meeting will go on Monday. You know, so I'm all in. Hold on, it says we're streaming live on Facebook. I have not gotten the notification on my phone yet, though.
Notification means somebody looking?
No, I mean, I always, it's easier for me to manage the comment section and stuff when I am when I'm on my phone looking at it. So I always look to see. There we are.
You go on Instagram Live?
No, just Facebook. Yeah, so yeah, no, we're live, we're good. And I always share it with my friends on Facebook just because it's fun. I'm genuinely trying to find the balance of how do I share more of my work self with my personal social network. So what I've been doing recently is just making sure that when we go live, I'm always sharing it with the people that I work with. I mean, with my social media friends. So boom. All right, hey guys, let's go ahead and jump on in here, man, and get started. This is an important topic, I feel like, because I think what we're going to talk about today with our supportive housing program really intertwines a lot of different conversations. To me, it talks about the need for more affordable housing in the city, which is obviously an important conversation for just the general public. But I feel like it's also an important conversation as we realize how the lack of affordable housing impacts a woman's decision on whether or not she stays in an abusive relationship or not. So this one is excessively exciting for me. And I think who better to bring with me than Miss Katha Blackwell and Miss Jenell Jackson. So the world knows Katha Blackwell by now. Obviously, she's the rock star, but I'm going to let Jenell open us up, because I think, Jenell, this is the first time, or second time, that you've met the PADV family social media network. So Jenell, who are you? What do you do for PADV? And tell us a good story. I think right now, man, I think the world is hungry for some positivity. And so if you could, before, and then after that, we'll kick it over to Katha for an introduction as well. But Jenell, tell us who you are. What do you do for PADV? And give us some positivity around what's happening with the supportive housing program.
Well, my name is Jenell Jackson. I work as the supportive housing coordinator for PADV, which is kind of coordinating supportive housing for all of our shelter and outreach clients. Being that, supportive housing is placing them in their housing unit. We have a scattered site, so we utilize all apartment complexes throughout the city of Atlanta, the county of Gwinnett, Rockdale, and surrounding counties as well. Some positivity. The one thing I can say, the good thing is that through all this, supportive housing has remained strong, strongly funded. And I appreciate the fact that, that the funding has, come in, and people are taking people out of emergency shelter situations and putting them in their own unit, which gives a survivor a sense of independence, a survivor a sense of, like, I got this, I could do this, and, kind of building violence-free lives and families, because I think that's what right now, kids to feel safe, parents to feel safe, and that was
cool. Hey, I appreciate you, Jenell, for joining us today. I love your space virtual background. Miss Katha Blackwell, could you take a second, introduce yourself? What do you do for PADV? and just tell us what's going on with you.
Hi, I'm Katha Blackwell. I'm the Vice President of Shelter Services and Supportive Housing with PADV. I oversee our shelter programs and supportive housing, as my title describes. Right now, we are just trying to make sure that we have the funds that we need to continue to help the people that we're serving. We have a variety of people that are coming through our doors, so it's very important that we continue to do the work that is necessary to help the people in need.
So, boom, first question right off the bat, man. Katha Blackwell, what is supportive housing and why is it so important?
Supportive housing is a project that we have that provides rental assistance throughout the duration of our client's lease. So, for example, we have over 150 clients now, actually, who are in our supportive housing projects. And what we do is we provide them with case management, we provide them with advocacy, provide them with budgeting tools, a service plan, just empowerment in itself while they're in our supportive housing project. Within our supportive housing project, they do tend to stay either a year or longer, depending on the project that they're placed in. And during that time, their empowerment advocate is able to really connect with them and provide them with the services that they need and help them grow. Supportive housing gives us a very unique look into the lives of survivors because they're with us longer. And so we're able to not just help them when there's an emergency taking place, for example, when they come into our shelters, but in supportive housing, it's no longer really an emergency. They're in a peaceful place. They're in a violence-free place, and we're able to help them navigate through this new life without their abuser in their home.
That's amazing. Now, I'm assuming Jenell is the empowerment advocate for all 150 clients that we have in.
Right? No. Absolutely not. She is definitely. I call her, she's like the quarterback of all the empowerment advocates. Jenell is the epitome of greatness when it comes to supportive housing. She is a reflection of how advocates are supposed to be when it comes to dealing with the population that we serve and dealing with supportive housing. Mm-hmm. She goes above and beyond to build those relationships with landlords. I mean, when it comes to landlords who don't quite understand why they should partner with us, Jenell is like the closer. she gets that thing done so that they can understand, like, you want to have a relationship with us. You definitely want to work with us. So yeah.
So I just want to make sure everyone understands, man. So what we don't actually own any of these apartments. We are working with landlords that are in the community that have obviously apartments, and then what we're doing is placing women into these into these apartments, and then the bills are coming to us. Is that a fair way for us to describe the program?
Yeah, it's a little bit.
Clarify for us. Talk about
it. We pay on their behalf, so therefore we kind of structure it where the lease is in their name. So the lease is in their name, which entails bills credit. So now they have a year's worth of on-time rental payments, so that the next year when they move out on their own, they can show like, oh, look, I've paid. It looks like as if they've paid the unit. So yes, half of the bill comes to us, but we also structure it where they're budgeting towards the end of the lease. So by the end of the lease, they can afford it. So this is what you're bringing in. Let's budget and see, okay, how much should you be spending on this? And maybe you don't need those clothes today, or maybe you don't need that outfit. Let's focus on, this is how much light bill costs. This is how much your phone bill costs. So it's like a program where we, assist them with life skills to maintain their independence after we leave. So yes, a portion of the bill comes to us, but we also have it where, okay, well, can you afford $100 towards your rent? And then they're like, okay, so now they know how it feels to pay something towards rent. So we pay a portion and they pay a portion.
That's amazing. And I'm assuming it's the program is designed that way because so many victims, when they come to us, are also victims of the financial abuse end of domestic violence. And so they probably don't have the experience of managing money or paying bills because their abuser was typically the one that was like, hey, I know you go to work, but give me all your check. And is that a fair statement for me to make, Jenell?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. And sometimes the abuser doesn't let them work at all. So they don't know how okay, I got paid $100. Like, what do I do with my $100? I'm gonna go and do something else. Like, no, you have bills. So it's like that open dialogue, like, okay, let's see. And then, towards the end of the lease, they're like, oh, I can really afford this on my own. I'm good. I'll take over my lease by myself. And then they go on to succeed on their own.
And so that's where, and so what you're showing a survivor is really, how do we move from that state of mind where I'm just kind of surviving domestic violence, or I'm surviving life, to I can really thrive and I don't need my abuser anymore. Is that essentially what our empowerment advocates are helping do?
Yes.
Yes, I love this stuff, man.
Absolutely.
I love it, man. No, because that's exactly that's exactly what in my mind, or what I want people to get from this, is we're moving survivors through this spectrum of they're with us in shelter for 90 days. And that 90 days is like, let's just get you back on your feet and get you progressing towards the goal of independence. But here, our supportive housing program is taking a much deeper dive into your life and saying, all right, yes, you're a survivor, but ... Like your life doesn't end at the domestic violence. That's just the beginning. And you're really moving people through this awesome, survivor independence, strong woman. I'm all in. I love it.
Jeff, I can't tell you how many people that we serve will tell us that they can't even imagine themselves being on their own.
Yeah.
They can't even imagine being in their own place, taking care of their kids by themselves. And we're here to be able to tell them, yes, you can. We have single moms. We have single people who are working and paying their bills, and they're learning about healthy relationships so that they can go out, and if they do start dating, we're with them in that process. If they open up that door to their lives, we're with them in that process to let them recognize and help them recognize what the red flags of abuse are if they haven't already learned that information already. So I'm so happy that we have a supportive housing program so that we can really dive deeper into those other areas of their lives that we really won't necessarily get to see within 90 days of shelter.
So, Katha, that brings up a great point. So I have a question for Katha, and then I have a question for you, Jenell. Is there a correlation between how long a survivor stays in our care with their ability to thrive on the other end?
That question it depends on the client. So, for example, there are clients who hit the ground running the moment they come to us. They're ready to go. They're moving forward. And then we have some where they need time. They really and truly need the time to process. And I think it's good for everyone to process whatever abuse they've been through. So the longer they stay with us, I think I see a greater result the longer they stay with us. As we pull back from how much assistance we give them financially, and we're able to educate them about budgeting, because budgeting is something you'll do for the rest of your life. Giving them those tools, those life skills that everyone needs, we're able to see people thrive longer and be able to be on their own and do different. So yeah, it varies depending on.
And it's empowering because you have to think about it. Some people have been with their abuser for years, and it's like they're conditioned to think a certain way, or like, oh, I can't do this, or he always said that I wouldn't be able to, and he's probably on the other end. So you're dealing with the survivor and trying to combat what he's telling her as well. So he may be telling him or her like, hey, you ain't gonna be able to do it, like you can't do that, but I'm here to show her that she can, and then we're gonna show him together that we could do this. And
that's what's up, man. Yes. I see you, Jenell. Come
that's
on, man.
Right.
That's it, man. Hey, so for those who might have joined us late, we're having a conversation today on how our supportive housing program saves lives. And if you missed it, our supportive housing program is apartments that we have in the community where survivors of domestic violence, whether men or women, can come and come alongside. Well, we come alongside them. We put them in apartments so that they can really be safe and thrive and rebuild their life. So if you just joined us, hop on in the comment section, give us some likes, some thumbs up, some hearts. So we have that new smiley face holding the heart. Give us some of those. And then more importantly, if there are questions that you have, we are here to answer those. So if you have a question about supportive housing or anything about domestic violence, there's no better people on the planet really than Jenell or Katha to answer your questions about domestic violence. So feel free, hop in the comment section and ask questions. We will be more than happy to answer those on air. And a happy birthday to Mr. Robert Campbell, who is apparently raising money for us. As his birthday on Facebook. So happy birthday, Robert. We
Happy
appreciate
birthday.
you. See, boom, we love you. So Jenell, question for you. Talk to us about what survivors tell you when they first move into their own place.
I don't think I could do this. Oh my God, I'm so scared. Yeah, so that's really what they talk about. They, it's kind of overwhelming. Like, oh my God, you go from thinking that you go from the shelter or you go from this abusive, toxic relationship to an apartment by yourself. Sometimes we have single women who've never been on their own, and you're in this apartment and it's lonely. It can get lonely. So now they start looking for different ways to combat that loneliness. So you're dealing with, okay, now we're in this big empty apartment. And it's like, wow, can I really do this? The first thing every woman or man has ever said, they turn and look at me like, I signed my lease. It's the first lease I've ever signed. Like, am I going to be able to do this? And you're just there to be like, yes, you got this. Like, yeah, just basically like, that's what I say. When I first see, I'm like, you got this, we got this, like, let's go. And then we go in and, okay, what do we need? Like, people don't even know, like, you might need a shower curtain. You might need, a sponge. Like, where do I get toilet paper from? So it's like little things like that. You have to, like, they've never realized that, okay, I have to buy these things, or this is all my responsibility now. Like, oh, I have to pay the lights. The lights are on, they're not free. So these are certain things that you have to teach them. So it's just kind of like hand holding. And I do love that our agency is able to do that, because once they're in there, we help them with furniture. So now they have a house full of furniture, a beautiful home. They make it their own, and they're able to just thrive on their own. So it's a good thing to see.
What do the kids say? Because I mean, a lot of our survivors that are in these programs have kids.
Right. And that's another thing. You have the kids like, oh my God, this is all mine. Like, I can do whatever. Like, I got my own room. I got my own bed. So yeah, so that's another rewarding aspect of it. The kids, they always like start doing great in school. They always start, they love the child advocate. So even they're able to stay connected to the child advocate. Sometimes they're able to continue to go to like the back to school party, or continue to go to their school due to the McKinney-Vento Act. So the bus will come and get them, so they're not disrupted in school. So yeah, that's a rewarding aspect too, because they get to see like, wow, my mom did it. And that's rewarding for her, because she's like, I'm going to show my kids that it's okay. And,
I love it. See, it's sort of, I think I say this, Katha, you've probably been on most of these calls or most of these things with me. Like, I always say I'm excited or I'm pumped up or something along those lines. And these things get me so fired up, man, to just go out there and really go out and ask for that next dollar, or to raise more money. I'm the vice president of development. And these things fire me up, man, because it like, when I tell somebody that we're saving lives, it's true. And like, man, what I just heard Jenell describe to me was we're changing generations, right? Like, there's a little kid that moved into this apartment with their mom, who grew up in a home where domestic violence was present. That ended for that kid, right? Like, that kid's life will now be, post domestic violence, right? I mean, man, it's such an amazing experience.
It's really empowering. And I'll just piggyback on what Jenell said. I wish we could get security systems for every one of our clients, because when they are moving into their own place, they are scared. And so we want them to feel comfortable. We're grateful that they're in their own place, but we also want them to feel safe. So normally we try to figure out a way to get them a security system, or, even if it's a little ring box for the front door, because normally people just figure out like, maybe I should get a puppy or something, because they feel they haven't been alone by themselves ever. And so I wish there was like this endless pot of money that we could utilize to get a ring, or any kind of security system just to help them feel safer.
So you're not necessarily saying you want a ring. You're just saying, hey, if ADT wanted to come and put security systems in all the survivors' homes, you would support anybody doing it, right?
Yeah,
anybody if you're watching.
Anybody.
Right, anybody.
Yeah, I think that would help so much as they move into their own place.
I don't mind giving a shameless plug to somebody that wants to put security systems in our survivors' homes.
Yeah, even Xfinity, like we figured out we had one survivor that, of course, crime happens outside of what, so somebody had seen that she was, a single mom with her kids and going in and out of her house. They broke in, but we figured out a way to, because she was like, well, I can't afford ADT, like a separate bill. So we, figured out a way, well, hey, you got cable, right? So let's do cable. Let's attach, the bundle, like let's do a bundle with the home, the wireless, and the cable. And that's what she was able to secure her whole house. Because, Xfinity gives you all the equipment.
Right.
So she was
you're saying, hey, so what you're also saying is if Xfinity wants to put security systems in all our survivors' homes, you would be willing to take that as well. I don't really care who it is, but I'm willing to go out on a limb and give you some airtime for whoever wants to put security systems in our survivors' homes. Katha, I think I hinted towards this question in my opening, but right now, kind of globally or nationally, we're dealing with an affordable housing issue. How does the lack of affordable housing really affect survivors of domestic violence?
It's really detrimental. If they can't see themselves being able to pay for a unit on their own, then the likelihood of them leaving their abuser, or even believing that they can pay for it on their own, it makes it complicated for them to leave their abuser. Mm-hmm. And so it's so important that we have affordable housing, so people who work at McDonald's, or people who are at Walmart, or people who are just trying to get back on their feet have rent that is affordable for them. It can't be that everything is an arm and a new leg, where people who have master's degrees can't even afford to buy a house. It is important that we have affordable housing across this nation, across the world.
Right.
Because that's a part of just sustaining life in itself. You need to be able to afford housing.
It sounds like what you kind of described also was a space where survivors of domestic violence are having to choose safety over staying in an abusive relationship and probably dying. Like if I can't afford, I'm staying in this situation only because I can't afford another option.
Absolutely. There's so many crisis calls that we get where people are like, I found a place. I'm trying to leave my abuser. Found a place, but I can't afford the security deposit and the first month's rent all at one time. And so that's where we're able to step in, depending on the situation, to help them get over that hump. Because it's like, if they can't afford to get out, if they don't have the funds right then to get out of that situation, they'll stay and likely die. So it's so important that affordability for housing is continuously prevalent in the lives of everyone. Because if you don't have that, people are more likely to stay because they don't see a way out. They don't see a way out. So we've had the honor of being able to help people who have called our crisis line, and they know that all they need is some financial assistance, some help, because what's in front of them is too big of a pot to pay on their own. So I'm so grateful that we have donors and funders who allow us to step in to fill that gap when we can. We don't have an endless pot, but the fact that we're able to help one or two or a couple, throughout the year, is empowering to them to realize, to see that there are resources out there that can help them get over this hump, because it's not affordable. Everybody doesn't have 3 times their rent. I mean, what is it? They have to make 3 times the rent. What is it, Jenell? What's the requirement?
So a lot of apartment complexes have, requirements to even get in, make 3 times the rent. And if you're barely making 2 times or 1 time, it's hard. Like, it's different barriers that are put in front of them that even a normal person can't afford, because what average person is actually making 3 times the rent? So sometimes they're like, oh, you're in competition with a regular middle class person trying to get affordable housing as well. Plus you're in competition trying to get our clients with barriers affordable housing as well. So
and I'm assuming some of the barriers that some of our clients are also having is they may have some negative things on their credit report or negative things on their rental report, which is also making it that much harder for a client to rent an apartment on her own or his own, and having that relationship with PADV and us going and being their advocate and saying, hey, it's on us, we got it, we'll take care of it, just put this client in an apartment. I'm sure that kind of moves heaven and earth for some of our survivors.
Yes, and even though I'm also grateful to the state of Georgia for enacting the House Bill 834, because you have people that, get charged all these massive fees because they have to leave for their safety, and they go down, they get a temporary protective order, or the abuser has destroyed the apartment, and they're held accountable. The survivor's held accountable because her name is on the lease, but it's not his or her fault. It's this person's fault. So they enacted that bill to protect, as a protection towards survivors. Like, okay, if you're unsafe and you're in a detrimental situation, you can leave without those fees. And a lot of people aren't educated on those bills. So they call our crisis line, and we're able to educate them and tell them exactly what verbiage to say. And they always, when I get the calls, I'd be like, go down there right now and you tell them that we're not paying. And they
I'm like, Jenell, bring the fire, Jenell.
So they go down there and they're educated and they know the right verbiage, and they go and they, get out of their lease without a problem. And sometimes they'll call back like, I just want to thank you because I was able to get out without having to pay all those bills and, all those fees. So imagine you have, before they enacted the bill, you had all those fees to move out, plus you have deposits. So
essentially,
it's a lot. I'm sorry, I just wanted to add
Jenell, you got me wanting to be. I want you to be my advocate, right? Like, it's probably somebody in the comment section like, can Jenell just call me every morning and just get me fired up, man? Because I'm like, hey, Jenell, you can be my advocate any day. So I'm sorry, I get sidetracked because y'all's passion is infectious, man. And so Jenell, tell us about while survivors are in our program, what other kinds of supportive services are they receiving, and why is that important?
So we try to alleviate a lot of the little bills so that they can, they can be shown that they're able to save money and afford the lease on their own once they leave. So we try to gear it towards they can save so that they have a pot full of money so that they can, when they move out, they have a nice cushion. Because the average person that is working at McDonald's and things like that, they don't even have $1,000 in their savings. So my goal is always to make sure that they have some sort of cushion when they're leaving. So when they get their tax check, let's not blow it. Let's put away $3,000, or let's put away, put this away and, in essence, keep that over there and just spend your paycheck. So that's where the budgeting comes into piece. We alleviate the childcare costs. So they can get really nice, affordable childcare that the kid is able to thrive in these environments, and they don't have to go from, because imagine you go from being the protector of your mom or the protector of your parent to now I can actually be a kid. So I always say, pick whatever daycare you want, go find it, love it, go in there. And then, we also try to make it where it's capped. So they apply for the social service CAPS, and which is a child care assistance program. And they, so we'll pay the difference. So we'll pay the full amount until the CAPS kicks in, and then we'll pay the difference. Or if they don't qualify for CAPS, we'll just pay the full amount until, the end of the lease. But at least we can alleviate that bill from you. We can alleviate the utility deposits when you move in. So you're not paying these massive deposits, to get in. So your security deposit, your utility deposit, you're moving. So if you have to move from your apartment, we're able to help you, get a moving truck over there, or go to Furniture Bank, which is a community partner of ours that accepts donated furniture from the county and the cities, and they can go there and pick out. It's really nice stuff too. So you can go there and pick out like a couch, and you get like a couch. You get all mattresses for everybody in the family. So they're able to, furnish their house. So we're able to alleviate that. We're able to alleviate if they want to go to, like any like medical appointments. Some grant programs, in some of the grants, they have like medical assistance, or we can assist with like medical devices. So just like little stuff. And then we also have in some of the grants like a food. So if they need like a fridge, when you first move in, these are things that we don't think about that we have to pay for all at once. So now you have to fill up your fridge, and now you have to buy these certain type of items like, cleaning products and things of that nature. So we're able to alleviate that cost as well.
This is such a great point, I think, Jenell, that you made, especially about the childcare piece, because it's not just the childcare, right? It's also the fact that by providing childcare, we're also able to help a family or a mom, go out and get a job, right? Is that a fair assessment for me to make?
Yes, because a lot of them, they're like, well, how do you expect me to get a job? Because I got to take care of my 1-year-old, or I got to pick up my daughter from school, my daughter or son from school at 2:00. Like, how am I supposed to work from till 6? Or, so we're able to alleviate that with after school care, or, like, hey, let's see if you can find a daycare that will pick up from the school, take him to after school care, and then you go pick him up from there till 7. Or let's see if we can find they even have 24. This was first for me when I first started. They have 24-hour daycares that do like daycare at nighttime. So if they find a night job, they can go to daycare 24 hours a day, which is like crazy. But yeah, so like if she finds a night job and she finds like a childcare provider that does a 24-hour, we're able to pay for that too.
Thank you, Jenell, because I wanted to make sure that we I think our job is really to connect dots. And I think, what we did, like, why are you guys paying for childcare? Well, okay, it's because of the job. Well, why are we providing supportive housing? Well, because the lack of affordable housing in Atlanta, right? And so I think it's just important for us to, as we have these conversations, to be able to connect dots for people. So Katha, this is a heavy question, man, and this is kind of tied into kind of what we're dealing with today as a community. But why so we know that domestic violence impacts all races, all ethnicities, all religions, but we also know that African American women are impacted at a much higher rate than other racial groups. What do you think is the reason behind those disparities?
I think the reason behind those disparities really comes from Black history in itself, in connection with slavery. Domestic violence has been embedded in Black history for the longest time, but I believe it was birthed in the midst of slavery. You have this person, overseer or slave driver in your life, who is wreaking havoc and abusing you, raping you, a multitude of things in your life, yet, quote unquote, providing food and shelter for you. And I think that caused a domino effect of what it clouded the judgment of what love looks like or what love is in the Black community. I think I think slavery is a prime influencer as to how or why there's such a disproportionate number of Black women dealing with domestic violence, or that we see in regards to emergency shelter needs. And I think slavery is the real cause of that.
That's, I wanted to make sure we brought that in, because it would be disingenuous of us as an organization to not recognize the fact that as a country we are dealing with a lot from a racial perspective right now, and we also see that same, well, not the same, but we see a racial disparity in domestic violence survivors. And so as an organization, we have to be ready and committed to meet those challenges wherever they are, while recognizing, yes, domestic violence affects people of all races, religions, all socioeconomic status or brackets. But as African American women are dealing with it at a much higher rate, we as a community have to respond to that need as we would for anybody. So Katha, thank you for really opening our eyes to that conversation. And honestly, that's probably a whole nother conversation in and of itself.
Yeah,
that we probably
I
don't
could go
like.
on.
Yeah, I know. Like, and so there's probably some room and some space to have that conversation as a whole. And I definitely want to make sure that we do that. And I do want to, again, just make sure we voice the fact that, yes, if you are watching us today, you can ask questions in the comment section. You can, provide feedback or provide your thoughts. Again, we do encourage that conversation with us. Our special events director, Nordine Bartley's watching right now, so we appreciate her. And a good friend of mine, Mr. Raymond Phillips, he's an alumni of the best university in the world, University of Georgia. With me, he is watching as well. So I appreciate you guys so much. Jenell, talk about how important it is for a survivor support system to be let me rephrase that. Why is a survivor support system so important to their recovery?
That's a good question. I believe it's really important because some of them have been isolated for so long that the family has kind of turned their back on them. Well, not turn their back on them, but kind of like stopped talking to them as a result of the abuser. And you also have people that don't understand. You also have family members that kind of don't understand why the survivor stays in a situation or why she keeps going back. So they kind of blame the survivor, like, oh, I'm not talking to her. She keeps going back. Like, I'm tired of dealing with her. So I just think that their support system is very, they need that. They're looking for that. So what? Let me see.
No, I mean, I think you hit it. I mean, I think you hit it right there. I mean, like a lot of times we're looking for more words, and like you made the point. Boom, the survivor support system is important. So is a lot of what you guys do, Katha, Jenell, your team, is do you help the survivor kind of rebuild that support system while they're with us?
We try. We really push for them to reconnect with people that are in the community of the apartment complex that they live in, whether it be whatever faith institution that they may have used to affiliate with, whether it was church, mosque, whatever. We try to encourage them to reconnect with those members, but also it's our hope. It's not something that we have complete control over. Sometimes certain friends are not good friends, and so we try to help them find other avenues to find friends that reflect what the kind of person they want to be. Luckily, we have a plethora of educated, empowering women that work at PADV, and unfortunately, some people get attached to us even after they've left because they haven't built that community of friends who can help them grow. So it can, at times it has been difficult, but we try to push them back into their faith-based institutions if they have them, but at the same time connecting them with the resources back home.
I think it's amazing, and I don't understand how you guys are able to accomplish all this. Like, you're supporting survivors that are in shelter, you're supporting survivors that are in our supportive housing program, but then, hey, you've left us, you're gone, and you're still calling, and so we're still the support system for those folks as well. You guys are awesome, and I don't know how you're doing it, but don't stop. I'm assuming the community would echo that. I see a good friend of ours, Miss Jennifer Kramer. She's been a longtime supporter of PADV, and we appreciate her so much. She's in the comment section as well. So Jennifer, we love you, and keep up the great work and keep supporting us.
Sometimes you even have like support survivors that call like years down the line, and they just want to talk about, because you're the only one that understands what they're going through or where they've come from. So you're the person that they can reach out to and be transparent with. And I always say, like, my number's still the same. Like, I always try to fight for Ms. Katha, please, I got to keep my number, because they call me like a year later, like, I met this really wonderful man and, he's doing this. Like, I know the red flags that you taught me. But these are boundaries that I've created for myself. How do you think I should tell them? Or, do you think this is weird? Like, he's clocking my speedometer, or he's clocking the mileage. Like, yes, that's weird.
Red flag.
Right. So like, they call you and ask you like these things, but you kind of, it's rewarding for me because, they're able to reach out to me, but it's all like, I just feel like I'm helping them from returning to another detrimental situation. So they're calling like, hey, what do I do? Like, I'm looking for counseling in my area. Like, how do I find that? And it's like ways you can help them, through their, find these life skills or create these boundaries. Like, I had one that called me the other day. She was saying that, she really doesn't like her new boyfriend, using profanity around her. That's just something that is a trigger for her. And she was just like, well, how do I tell him? And, I explained to her how to tell him. And, she would call me back and was like, thank you. He's stopped being cursing. He's not going to curse anymore in front of me. And these are things that, they're able to stand up for themselves and, do from the skills and the education that we've taught them about red flags and things of that nature.
I'm assuming, guys, that a lot of the reason why sometimes the bond is so strong between you guys as advocates and the survivor is, and please, if I'm wrong, I no bones, just tell me, no, Jeff, you're wrong. But is it because for a lot of survivors, we were the first person to believe that they were a victim of domestic violence?
Yes, I believe so. I believe that's exactly it. Or the fact that we didn't turn our back on them. I think sometimes family members really get burned out and they get tired of going through the motions of the ups and downs. For us, if you call us once, you call us twice, you call us 1,000 times, we're going to be with you. We're going to help you as much as we possibly can. And I think, yeah, you hit it on the head. The fact that we believed them, we didn't disregard what they said or tell them that they're crazy. No, he's not following you. He's not hiding in the bushes. Maybe he is. We believe you. Yeah.
It's funny. I always tell you guys, I think I lie to you every time. Maybe it's not a lie. I think this is just your fault. This is only supposed to last like 30 minutes, and clearly we've been going for 41. So I just have two more questions, one for each one of you guys. But again, I do want to open the comment section up. If there are questions, feel free to ask them. We are monitoring it, and we'll get to you definitely. We want to make sure that we answer all of the questions that are there out in the community, and we're here to be a resource for you guys. So Katha, what are the challenges? What challenges have we seen during the pandemic, specifically with our supportive housing program, and kind of how have we overcome them?
Well, during the pandemic, we did have a lot of clients who lost their jobs during this time, and so they weren't able to necessarily pay their portion of the rent, or they may have does not have the funds that they needed at the time. So we've been able to step in to cover all of their rent needed based on their situation. So, supportive housing has allowed us to keep people housed so they don't end up homeless. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. And obviously it's because we have some great supporters that have made those extra funds available to us to say, hey, no survivor gets turned away or no survivor gets evicted for whatever reason. I do want to make sure before I ask Jenell the last question of the live, I do want to make sure I point out that you can support PADV without supporting us financially. You can. Jenell brought up an awesome point earlier where she talked about we provide survivors with shower curtains and pots and pans and plates and all of those things. Well, if you are so inclined, you can. We have an Amazon registry where you can go and buy those items specifically for a survivor. They're not for the organization. They will ship it to us. Amazon, just like any registry, will ship it directly to the organization. And then what we do is when a survivor gets ready to move out of our shelters program and move into supportive housing, we try to make sure that we give them a home in a box. And it's just, some of those little supplies that they may need so that, again, they don't have to go out into to Target or whatever and spend money on those items. They can, I think Jenell hit it on the head earlier, they can leave that money in savings and not have to worry about, pulling money out to buy blankets and sheets and shower curtains and pots and pans. So that link is in the comment section. And I do want to encourage anybody watching today, if you do feel inclined to support us that way. Jenell, last question. What's the one thing you'd like to say to a survivor watching today?
Call me.
Listen, yes, you get the last question.
No, I would just like to say you can do this. Like, no matter what you may feel or no matter how high the mountain is, you can climb it. We're here to help you get over that mountain and to get to the top of the mountain. And I do appreciate our agency. They're open 24 hours a day, and my line is always open. You're able to call and say like, hey, can I talk to Jenell? They'll transfer you right to me. And sometimes I get calls at 2:00 in the morning. I really don't have nothing else to do, so I'll answer and talk to you and talk you through it. But that's the only time that you got to talk. But I always say you could do this, like no matter what, how hard it may look, how hard it may feel, or how hard it may even be. Just take it. We can take it one day at a time, and there's always, I just say you could do this. That's my words.
So Katha, you're not allowed to change Jenell's phone number. I think we have all agreed to that, right? Like no changing Jenell's phone number, because obviously she's talking to people at 2:00 in the morning, and not. I guess we all have an issue with kind of work-life boundaries working at PADV. It is a great place to work.
The passion is real.
I think that's what it is, man. We all have some work-life balance issues, but
sometimes they appreciate it. They're like, "Is that your baby in the background?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Why's the baby up until like this? This is a whole nother live right now. Why's the baby up until 2:00 in the morning? The baby answering the phone with you, I guess. Hey, let me just tell you guys real quick, both Katha, Jenell, man, from the bottom of my heart, I sincerely appreciate the work that y'all do every day. Man, y'all go hard for PADV. You're doing a lot of work. You're like I'm sending work emails at midnight because I have to, right? But you guys are really just getting after it, talking to survivors every day, pouring into them. So I just want to let you go, and I'm sure that everybody in the comment section agrees with me that you guys are rock stars and you're amazing, and this organization is better because we have you. So thank you guys so much for coming and talking to us today about supportive housing. It is Jenell has informed me that it is our fastest growing program in the organization. And so I do want to make sure we shout that out. And thank you guys for being a part of it. I'll be remiss if I didn't at least let all the community know. You can visit our website at padv.org for everything, whether you need information as a survivor, and you just want to know warning signs, you want a safety plan, and you're not quite ready to pick up the phone and call the crisis line. If you want to support PADV in any way, you can do that on our website as well. If you just want to learn more about domestic violence, again, I encourage you to visit our website, padv.org. If you want to visit us on social media, you can. All of our social channels are at PADV Atlanta, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, even on LinkedIn, where you can learn more about the business and the domestic violence. And if you are in need of help and you want to call our crisis line, you can do that at 404-873-1766, 404-873-1766. Even if you are not a victim, if you're just a family member, if you just want to talk to somebody, you can do it anonymously, but you can do all of that via our crisis line. Our Facebook family, we appreciate you guys so much for joining us today. We love you. If you need anything or you want to communicate with us in any way, you can email us at info@padv.org. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. And join us, I think, not this Tuesday. I think let me get the date. Let me get the right date. I don't want to be wrong because it's going to be an amazing conversation. It's June 17th. We're going to be having our next conversation on domestic violence as seen through a child's eyes. And so we're going to have one of our board members, Dr. Tamika Law Walker. She's going to come. She saw domestic violence as a child. And so she's going to come and talk to us about her experience. And so that's going to be an amazing conversation. And then on June 19th, we're going to come back and have another conversation about domestic violence and its effects on the brain. And so we're going to be talking traumatic brain injury with Ms. Katha Blackwell again, but also the folks at the Brain Center at Gwinnett Medical Center. So that's going to be an amazing conversation as well. So thank you guys again. I'm done talking. Y'all have an amazing day. Reach out to PADV if you need us. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.